transition is with us, and it's here to stay. Global economics, technological changes at the speed of light, and social values that are changing faster than any time in the past. To help guide you along your journey in this fast-changing life, the show with a purpose: to empower, to enlighten, to educate, and to entertain. The show that offers you a friend, a guide in the most transitional time in the history of the human race. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Steve Beaman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Steve Beaman Show. We are so pleased and honored, as we are every week, to be able to share this time with you, and we try to bring you content that is truly real help for real people. This is the letter I show, so at the bottom of the hour, we've got a fascinating word for you and a story about something that can genuinely change your life. In the Master Your Money segment, we're talking about investing, that general overall concept that is so misunderstood by many, many people out there. And in the Master Your Mind segment, in our second segment, we are going to be talking about the physical path. So, Carol, this is going to be a terrific program. And I'm just, as always, it's going to go too fast, but I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, I'm very excited to talk about all these great things. We got a lot coming up. We're going to be talking about inflammation, investing, and I-word. I mean, it's going to be awesome. But hey, Steve, you wrote an Epic Times article about jolly old England and the Eurozone.
Oh, what a huge thing. This is probably the biggest thing to hit Europe in 50 years. And so, yeah, I wrote an article which was published on Epic Times. You can see it at stevebeaman.com. The article's thrust is the importance of what was called Brexit, and that's Britain exiting the euro.
So Brexit, they kind of merge
they
the
merge
words
it together and
together.
it becomes Brexit.
Okay, so, I'm an American. Why do I care? I don't care. Why do I care?
I hear people on the road listening to this in their cars or elsewhere going, and so here's the deal. Great Britain belongs to a free trading zone, a federation of the European Union. They have broken down trade barriers. They've broken down cross-border transportation barriers. They've created a free trade zone.
It's a good thing for them.
It's a good thing for them and for us.
Why is it good for us?
It's a lot easier to trade with one set of rules than it is 30 different sets of rules.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It does. And it's good for it's good for the globe. It's kind of the Trading Federation of Europe has been a good thing.
Okay.
Here's the problem. It's not just an economic issue. It's a cultural issue. It opened up the borders so that there's easy movement now from Eastern Europe to Western Europe. England has had a lot of Eastern Europeans come into that country. Yes, there's a Middle Eastern immigration thing we all hear about, but for the English, it's the Eastern European migration that's hurting them, at least in their opinion.
Why is it hurting them? It's bringing different cultures in.
It is, but they feel like it's happening so fast, these people aren't assimilating into English culture. And so you've got this huge debate that grew up around it of the economic value of membership versus the cultural problems of membership.
Okay.
And Great Britain's always been kind of its own little island. It really doesn't want to be part of the European continent.
It was an empire.
Right. So the other thing that Britain did, and I talked about in the article, is they kept the pound. Most of the European countries gave up their currency.
Right.
Britain and Switzerland didn't.
But they're still part of the European Union, even though they made, because I know when I was in England back in January, and they had the pound. We didn't even use the euro over there.
No, but the euro is the reality is it's the German mark. I mean, Germany kind of runs Europe. But so what you have is the English voters were all saying, should we stay in the European Union or should we come out? And the importance of it, again, this is the decision they had to make as they went to the polls on what day was it, Thursday?
I think it was Thursday or Friday.
So they're looking economically saying, do we benefit from membership enough that it supersedes the cultural issues? And in this country, President Obama came out very directly against their leaving the union.
Well, what business does he have? He's not even part of the European Union. I mean, take you the right way, but why is he coming?
His argument is that for global trade and for free trade around the world, it's much easier to have a unified Europe as opposed to split up and parsed up parts of it. There is a sovereignty issue here. Great Britain's a sovereign nation.
Right.
When you join the euro, you give up some of your sovereignty.
How so?
Well, like currencies. Now, Britain kept theirs, but a lot of the trade regulations and immigration rules have been imposed on Great Britain by the European government. There is a super overriding European
government. Wait a minute. Did you just say immigration is also controlled by the European government to
Absolutely.
a sovereign nation?
Well, the problem is when you agree to be a member of the euro, you kind of say we're going to allow free movement of people and goods around the European
but
zone.
that's immigration. I mean, I could see visiting, but immigration where you go and actually live, you've actually lost a national sovereignty piece,
and
don't you?
A lot of it has. And so the other issues that came up, and this is what the Brits were fighting, is you've got what has evolved in the European Union of a north-south battle. You've got Germany and France and the northern European countries superseding the pigs.
The pigs. Shame on you. Wait, my ancestors are from those pigs.
The question is, how many people listening are going, the pigs? Yeah, it's Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain.
Right.
So those countries have been suffering. A lot of them were pro-socialist, and they've really suffered.
Can I ask you a question? It's kind of off color here. Not really color, but off topic. But if you look at Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain, those are in more warmer climates, more Mediterranean. They're a little more laid back. Do you think their economic situation has anything to do with that particular culture that they have? Because you're Germans, I'm part German too, more stoic. Your Brits are more focused, more serious.
Well, there's no question. If it was 85 degrees every day, I wouldn't want to go to work either.
La Dolce Vita, right?
But the reality is, you're right. I mean, there is a historical, cultural difference in those southern European countries. And a lot of this played out. Greece flat out went communist almost.
Oh,
I mean, they really toyed with it. In fact, Russia is now making major inroads into Greece. They're helping bail them out. Russia wants influence to help destroy NATO. And so they're trying to get their fingers in everybody who's at the margin. Greece is there. Italy, they played with socialism.
Wow.
And as a result, these countries have gone bankrupt. So the northern European countries, to your point, the cultures that were harder working and
Well, look at Germany. Germany has Mercedes, BMW. They're very innovative.
And all the supporting
Siemens.
industries, the steel industry's developed. You've got a hugely developed economy.
Yes.
And they have covered the brunt of the financial problems of Europe. Well, England is also developed. They've come out of their socialist experiment of the 70s into a more free market system.
England is a big banking community, isn't there?
They're a huge financial services for Europe and the globe. And so the Europeans want Great Britain to be part of this. But again, the cultural issues raised in the whole European Union have caused the Brits, or did cause the Brits, a lot of concern. So as they went to the polls, and I think when it started, the polls were like 54-46, and they closed. This was one of the most fascinating horse races you could ever watch, because as you came down through Thursday, the polls were getting closer and closer and closer.
It took hours.
So the Brits made a really tough call there.
Interesting.
And,
it was interesting.
It really is, and the rest of us in the world now deal with the ramifications of it.
But how is it going to benefit us either way? I mean, how does it benefit us?
I think had they gone for, leaving it, I think that would have been a problem because you'd have trade routes. But, had they stayed with it, they knew these arguments. So they made a decision based on what they believed was best for Great Britain. Salutations. It's their country.
Well, I mean, let me ask you something about Great Britain. I mean, what did Her Majesty want to do?
She never came out one way or the other.
Are you serious?
She never did. And you've got to believe she doesn't want in it. But that's, I'm not going to speak for the Queen.
Well, the Queen, she was the Queen for a long time.
She's been there for a long time. But around the world, Carol, this was huge. This was probably the biggest issue to hit Europe and Great Britain in 50 years. I mean, the result and the outcome of this was hitting China and Japan. Japan, which is suffering from kind of a 10 years of malaise. China, which has gone from 8 and 10% growth rates now down to maybe a recession.
Wait. You said something to me earlier about China. They have a bigger middle class than we do?
Oh, yeah. Carol and I talk a lot of times offline about stuff. When we're talking about the size of China, they've got a 200 or 300 million person middle class.
What's its percentage, though? Percentage-wise?
20, it's smaller percent. It's just a huge, big number.
The number is bigger, but the percentage-wise. Okay,
and what got us talking about it relates to our coming discussion on the physical path, because the Chinese are actually opening workout facilities in China.
Yes.
And that's a huge investment opportunity, which is how I became aware of it. I do a daily SAFE report on SAFE Financial's Facebook page. So if you want to go to SAFE's Facebook page at the Society to Advance Financial Education, you can watch me for a half hour every day going around the world in 30 minutes.
So do you think the Chinese are opening workouts because they're not working as hard physically? Like they become more like the Western society?
No, they're very disciplined. I think it's very much they want to, as their middle class evolves, they want to grow into a middle class standard, and part of that's physical exercise.
It's probably one of the paths to prosperity, which we're going to discuss.
They're westernizing in many, many ways. So, but the Brexit thing was interesting. I hope you'll read my article and you can look at my prognostications, which are always fun to see if I called it right. And that's kind of the hinky. You never know when you predict the future if you're going to be right. But on that one, I think I was. So, but as we go, again, this show today, we're going to be talking about the I word. We got a lot coming up. I think you're going to find it interesting. And when we talk about the investing thing in the Master Your Money, this is a bigger issue than most people give it credit for.
Well, I can't wait till the Master Your Mind, which is coming up right away.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back and help you master your mind as we travel down the physical path.
Hi friends, Carol Parisi here. If you're like me, you're always on the quest for improved sleep and more energy. I discovered the secret to getting this. It's tart cherries and their restorative powers. It's been found that tart cherry juice, like the Cherry Bundy brand, could help to relieve aches and pains, provide faster muscle recovery, and help you get a good night's sleep. The science shows that tart cherries and Cherry Bundy are rich in antioxidants that help reduce inflammation in the body. These antioxidants also work to reduce exercise-induced oxidative stress to help your body recover faster. Tart cherries also contain naturally occurring melatonin, known as a key ingredient to a good night's rest. To learn more about the science behind tart cherry juice, check out choosecherries.com. It's full of data from independent research studies. My favorite tart cherry juice brand is Cherry Bundy, which you can find at cherrybundy.com, spelled CHERIBUNDI.com. And tell them Steve and Carol sent you.
Welcome back, everyone, as we continue on our journey to an improved life. As we do each and every week, this is our journey to the center of your mind as we talk about the 5 paths to a transformed life. In fact, we came out with a new phrase today about thriving on 5.
Exactly.
That was Carol's idea. It was very creative. Thank you.
Well, you know what? And what are those 5 paths? Let's really just
drill
review
down.
them quickly.
Last week we talked about the intellectual path. This week we're talking the physical path. Next week perhaps we'll touch the emotional path, the spiritual path, and then of course the financial path that all of us as adults end up one way or another caring about.
So, you hear a lot about body, mind, spirit. Yep. So you've taken it even further because the body is the physical path.
Yep.
The mind is the emotional path and the
intellectual path.
So, because see, your mind, well, we've talked about this.
Well,
intellect
I was
and mind
talking to one of my daughters. She's getting ready to move out. She's all excited about it, but she's also scared because it's a step into adulthood. And she's kind of going, I don't know if I can handle it. And we talked about taking the emotional fear and converting it to an intellectual challenge, because it really does take the fear out. She's able to say, okay, what am I afraid of? Move it out of that space into a problem she intellectually can solve. And it brought some peace to her.
And thank God that you're a good dad that can actually help facilitate that. A lot of parents don't even understand that concept, and we're here to help people awaken to those type of concepts.
That's right. That's why we publish this stuff. It's why we do the radio show. It's why you and I spend our time on this each and every day.
Well, I'm excited, Steve, because we're going to talk about the physical path, yep. And that's a really important path, too.
And let me interject real quick. For those of you who didn't know it, part of the excitement of this particular segment is that Carol is a certified personal trainer. She's been certified in all this stuff. She's also a certified herbalist. Now, if you don't know what that is, give us a note, carol@stevebeaman.com or steve@stevebeaman.com. The bottom line is she has studied this stuff, implemented it in her life, and you know what? There's real help for real people sitting here right now.
Absolutely. Studied the anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, and I love it. It's awesome. And this is a very important path. But this week, staying with our letter I, we're going to talk about inflammation.
We are. There's so much we've written about this. There's hundreds of articles that have been published about the physical path. And I mean, literally from divorce and the physical path and everything. We could go any direction. But we thought that it really is important to dial it down to one thing that you guys listening can take home and say, wow, I learned something. And inflammation is a key to so many things that can unlock in the body.
Well, I'm reading here an article by a David Marquis, and he says inflammation controls our lives. It says it does pain, obesity, ADHD, peripheral neuropathy, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, migraines, thyroid issues, dental issues, or cancer.
Absolutely.
All of those things. Yeah. Inflammation. I mean, we're like an inflammation nation here.
We don't even think about it. It's one of the reasons I don't want to harp on something we talk about all the time, but it's one of the reasons I drink the tart cherry juice. I mean, a nice little throw in, but it actually helps reduce inflammation as you exercise, as you do things to your body that makes it want to be inflamed. It helps bring it down, and it's key to getting that done.
And that's healthy. And that's another reason, yes, the tart cherry juice does help subside inflammation. What else do you want to do?
Do you have probiotics you take that help in that area? Because I hear so much about probiotics and how they do all these wonderful things. And I guess I'd like to get down to the truth as best I can of what they do.
I don't take a probiotic every day anymore. I do. I mean, okay, here, Steve, look at this is my magical mystery tour.
We're looking in a little container. I mean, she looks
she
looks like a drug dealer.
Yeah, but no, these are all natural herbs and vitamins.
But there are 15 pills in there.
Well, I've already taken a few. I take a variety of different things for different things. Okay. Prevention.
You have the credibility that I will listen to.
Epigenetics. Okay, epigenetics. My mom had ovarian cancer, died of ovarian cancer. Any herb, any natural substance that I can put in my body that is not going to do damage and cause inflammation,
right?
I take it. What's it going to hurt? Herbs are food. Your body knows what to do with them. I'd rather take herbs now than take drugs later.
No, I support that. I think one of the things in the physical path, as you kind of think of your life in that way, we have to take an active role in preventing aging, preventing disease, preventing heart problems. You know, Carrie, you and I've talked about it. I started working out because in January my blood pressure was getting out of hand.
Right.
And on my physical path, I'd always been content. I was like, I like the way I look. I don't really care. But as I start to hit middle age, and I'm kind of giving myself some grace there, but I don't want to go on medication. So I'm going to look for a natural way to take care of these otherwise unnatural problems.
And now you don't have to take that blood pressure medication.
No.
And that does have other implications to your total holistic
They're
health.
all linked. In fact, I've been asked time and time again which of the 5 paths is the most important, and you and I talked about it on the program a few weeks ago. And clearly, to those of us of faith, the spiritual side drives a great deal of it. But when you start to look at the interlinkage of the body, the mind, the conscious, the subconscious, it all is equally relevant. There's no way to put a value proposition say this is bigger.
You know, it could be called quote unquote new age, metaphysical.
But there's nothing new under the sun. This stuff's been preached for 10,000 years.
Well, and you know what? Science is finally starting to catch up with some of this.
I agree. This is a little bit off the topic, but I think it's relevant. There's a guy down in Tennessee I've studied with a book called The Healing Codes. And I think you and I might have touched on this once, but he's a big believer in energy medicine. And the idea that our cellular structure has either a fight or flight response or an at-rest response.
Absolutely.
And at rest, it can heal anything. It can heal the toxic things that come into the body. But in fight or flight, it can't do anything.
That's why prayer and meditation are so important. What does our Bible tell us? Be still and know that I am God. I mean, that's no mistake.
Be still.
Be still.
Right.
And know. I mean, God is in control. I know this is not a religious show, but the universe, God, our Creator.
And we have faith. I'm not going to hide from. I'm
not going to hide from my Christian faith either. But I mean, you know, God knows what to do. Be still and allow that. Here's a little thing that why inflammation needs to be addressed at its root. The immune system drives the inflammatory process and disease, and Western medicine has actual little way of answers. You got to be careful because a lot of those drugs that are taken, actually,
the side effects are staggering.
Well, and they also make more inflammation.
They do. But, folks, as you think about your life and your physical path, Carol and I are up on the Steve Beaman site. We've got hundreds of articles talking about everything from chocolate and whether it is a new superfood, how much protein do you need, is McDonald's to blame for obesity, how to recover from the holidays, the importance of sleep. This stuff all plays into life, and you may have your own specific issues. And I can almost assure you somewhere within the insights we've published, we've hit on those issues. I mean, we've talked about the benefits of gluten-free diets, the guidelines on salt intake.
I love these. I absolutely love the physical path, and we'll keep bringing these forward. But let's give some solutions here. Factoids first. 1 in 12 women and 1 in 24 men are dealing with full-blown inflammation. So listeners out there, that might be some of your problem. But here's some solutions. Lifestyle. Remove some of your stress over exercising, your sleep habits. Lifestyle. Restore your beneficial mechanisms, like working out, eating healthy, green food, natural food, and of course your dietary support. Take supplements, especially Cherry Bundy tart cherry juice.
It works, and we've talked about how it has very specific anti-inflammatory capabilities. But I think, Carol, what you're bringing up and what we're talking about is interesting because most people don't think in their life about inflammation. What does it mean? What do you mean I'm inflamed? We're talking about at all kinds of levels of the body, the cellular level, the tendon level, the muscle level.
Yes.
And it all plays into that you just don't feel as good as you could.
And you could feel better. When you're inflamed, your body doesn't feel good. Your joints hurt and your muscles ache. And you were talking also about gut flora.
Yep.
And that is your probiotics. Probiotics are important to healthy gut flora if you're not eating good.
Some of them really are. And folks, again, you don't know me that well, but this stuff is as far away from who I used to be as you could imagine. I didn't care. But it is important. And I've learned in my life that you've got to focus on this stuff. And you have to listen about things like inflammation or probiotics because they will make you have more energy and feel better about who you are.
There's something called fermented foods, too, but that's a whole nother segment.
Someday we'll cover that. But folks,
sauerkraut.
Hey, by the way, stick around. We've got a wonderful challenge for you coming in the last segment. We've thought hard about what to make this week's, and I'm going to report back on last week's. And so that's going to be important. And when we come down to the bottom of the hour, the I word is another one for the record books. Very happy about this. And in Master Your Money, we're going to talk about the general nature of investing. Something so often misunderstood by everybody out there. So we'll see you at the bottom of the hour for Carol's Words of Wisdom. A funny thing happened over the past years. Responsibility for retirement got shoved onto your back. IRAs, KIOs, 401ks, and all the other alphabet soup of investment options were thrown to you with the happy statement, you're now in charge of your own retirement. The problem is, money doesn't come with an instruction book. Well, here's the instruction book with no biases, no conflicts of interest, a pure purpose to promote and provide financial education. Welcome to the Society to Advance Financial Education, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization created and sustained to help you, real people in the real world. When you need a friend in finance, someone to explain things and make them understandable to you, you need SAFE. We have spoken to hundreds, thousands of people in transition, men and women dealing with retirement, college planning, divorce, death, transitions of all kinds, and we are there to help. Visit safefinancial.org on the web and become a member. Let our educational tools help you. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to this, the bottom of the hour, where we have a chance to learn about a new core concept for our very life. We went through habits last week. We've talked about attitude. We've talked about so many important things. And this week's program is all around the letter I. So, Carol, fill us in.
Well, this week's word is the word integrity. Integrity, foundational principle. Steve, integrity means being true to ourselves and being honest, upright, and decent in our dealing with others. When we are guided by integrity, our thoughts and words are in line with each other. Our actions align with our principles. Our conduct speaks for us more eloquently than words ever could. It becomes the basis for both reputation and self-respect. Integrity demands courage, but delivers untroubled sleep. Is integrity old-fashioned, Steve?
Oh, I think it's not only not old-fashioned, I think it's a permanent part of who we are.
You know,
Well, I mean, you're kind of down to what else are you if you don't have integrity?
well, we were talking before the show, and you said something, and I have it written down. You start, and I'll follow up with what you were saying. Integrity is...
Oh, doing the right thing even when nobody's watching.
Exactly. It's doing the right thing if no one is looking. If you have integrity, you're honest with yourself and others. But in order for you to have integrity, you must be honest with yourself first. The way we run our lives is how we define who we are. Honesty is telling the truth to others. Integrity is telling truth to yourself.
Bingo. I mean, we live in a culture that is rapidly changing. We talk about the transformations taking place in the economy and the social values that we have, but let us never lose the value of integrity. If there's no internal trust on who we are, where do you go from there?
You know, I'm going to say so. You could tell integrity by people that you meet. You can tell people with integrity. If you meet someone and they're the same person... Okay, have you ever met anybody that is really nice to you, but then goes, did you hear about...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Peck a little, talk a little. It's like, wait a minute. If I
By the way, that's from The Music Man.
Yes, it is from The Music Man. You knew that. Yes. And it was the women.
Right.
Chirp, chirp,
but
chirp.
no, I think we've all known people who are a little bit of the two-faced people. And again, it's I guess, idealized in politicians. Right? Where is the integrity in somebody who can say, oh, I want this for this group and this for this group? But again, we don't need to get into it. But if we had integrity even in that system, how much better off our nation would be.
Oh, Steve. If people were consistent, okay, and not just flipped and flopped and changed with the winds and really came from a place of intrinsic integrity, then we would know what we're getting. But see, politicians are not paid. They don't win if they come from a place, for the most part, of integrity. There is a few. I have a representative that represents me that's an awesome, integral man.
Most of us think that about our representative. It's kind of funny.
I've heard that, yes.
But I think the bigger
thing... But I know this person
thing,
personally. I'm talking my
is we
statement.
get down to who we are as people. And I know in raising kids, you see this in young people from that 18 to 25 time when they're trying to live a life of integrity to themselves, but they don't know who they are.
They don't know who they are.
And I think even as adults, sometimes it's hard to know what we really stand for that is an unbreakable principle that we would just never give on, as opposed to around the margin where we might, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Well, I think there's parenting, and I think it's also, being introspective. I mean, here's a couple little tips on to test your own integrity. Are you sincere with yourself? Do you acknowledge your own shortcomings? Are you open to frank feedback? Do you admit your mistakes? Are you aware of your strengths? And do you make any effort for improvement? I mean,
everybody listening is going, I'm that way.
And you know what? If you're honestly saying, if you honestly are, then that's why this show is for very unique and special people. Because if you could look at your own self and say, you know what? I kind of stink at this. I could do better here.
Exactly.
And I love when people give me constructive criticism. Don't just rag at me, but it's like, hey, Carol, you know what? You kind of missed the ball on that. Tell me. I want to know that.
All right. So, folks, there it is. That's your challenge.
Absolutely.
We want you to write Carol at stevebeaman.com and tell her if she missed the boat.
Integrity and accountability
Let's put some accountability on you.
I'm good with that.
All right.
I am really good with that. Absolutely.
I'll write you a note.
You write me a note. Are you open with friends? Do you tell them how you feel? And are you straight with your boss? Some people are scared to talk to their boss, honestly. I never had the problem of being a straight talker. I'm pretty... Are you candidate with colleagues and partners? Are you honest with competitors?
Yep, and that's a really hard one. I mean, but we're losing integrity in sports, and that gets into how, I think it's Dennis Prager talks often about, I'd rather win with integrity or lose with integrity than win with non-integrity, talking about kids cheating in school.
Absolutely.
Because we're seeing it in the schools, in the high schools now, where there is no integrity to the academic process, and kids are taught to almost lie, cheat, or steal to get into the better colleges.
Isn't that something? Lie on job applications. So many people are like, oh, I could put it down. They never check.
Oh, how many people have bluffed about their academic backgrounds or other things? And it's, eventually you get caught, number one. But it is tough. And you and I both know, all of you folks listening, this is not easy stuff. To live a life of integrity is gut-wrenchingly difficult sometimes because you got to do things you don't want to do.
Well, I'm going to say something to you, and it's also customers and clients and things like that. Deliver on time. And that, Steve, you are a man of integrity because you say what you mean what you say, you come up with, ideas and you execute on them, and you are a very integral person.
And I thank you for that. And I'm going to bring some of that integrity right back in the Master Your Money segment as we come back and talk about investing and all that truly means to you. We just finished tax time, and I know, like me, many of you are thinking, wow, this gets more complicated every year. I'm Steve Beaman, and my friends at Beaman Associates have been helping individuals and successful businesses for over 20 years. In construction, they say measure twice and cut once. In accounting, trust me, research and plan before you act. When you need powerful tax and accounting advice for you or for your business, contact Beaman Associates at 630-653-3510. Visit Beaman Associates.
Now, back to the Steve Beaman Show for insight on your money and the nation's financial future.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this segment in which we call Master Your Money because it is one of the 5 paths, of course, and it's one that is critical to most people's life, whether it's building retirement, building a college fund for your kids, or just surviving day to day to pay rent. We are sponsored in this segment by the Society to Advance Financial Education, a 501c3 organization that is truly your friend in finance. If you've got questions on your money, write Steve at stevebeaman.com, and I'll introduce you to the friends at SAFE.
SAFE is a great place to be.
We also want to thank John Grebe, our accounting friend. John is an accountant who researches twice and acts once, to use the old construction analogy. But you can call John at 653-3510. That's 630-653-3510. Now, let me kind of give a genesis to this because people may wonder where we come up with topics. Carol and I were at a dinner recently, and we were at a SAFE dinner, and we talked about that. But we're talking about kind of what is investing. What is the nature of it? Because in your background, investing was always the concept of real estate. It's a hard asset. It's tangible.
It's tangible. I can hold on to it. All this other abstract, my brain doesn't.
Exactly. And I come out of a world of trying to make money work for you. And that is the definition of investing for me. How do I take a dollar I've earned and make it work for me?
So, Steve, how do we... There are many different ways to invest, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how many ways would you say off the top of your head there are to invest?
Well, there are lots, and people don't think about it that way. We can invest in our personal skills that make us more valuable in the job force so our income can go up.
You should always be investing in your own personal skills and your own knowledge.
But that's real.
Huge.
That's tangible and it's real.
Tangible, yes.
We can invest in our homes, which most people don't think of their homes as an investment, but it is. In fact, it's the largest investment most people make.
What do you mean invest in your homes? Like put a new deck on or a swimming pool? Is that going to add value?
Start with how you bought one, but then look quantitatively at if I add a deck, does it really add value? Or is that an expenditure, not an investment? But we have, obviously, our retirement that we put money away so that when we get old, we don't have to live on dog food because none of us really want to do that. And in that one, that's where people start to make big mistakes because they don't understand the options that are available. And again, I could talk all day about it, but one of the things, Carol, you've done in your life is you've owned your own business.
Yes.
You invested your time and capital into building more income and more capital.
Yes.
That's a pure investment. You've bought rental properties where you've invested money into something that kicks off cash flow.
Right. Well, actually, my first property I bought, I lived in for a few years, but I bought it with the full intention that I was going to keep it as an investment property. And you know what? It's positive. It's been paid off for years now.
And a lot of people have made a lot of money in hard asset, real estate investing.
Although with the market crash, I've heard it been said that real estate now is a consumable. It is no longer as much of an asset as it used to be.
I don't know that that's not a phase. I mean, people do change. We're seeing in real estate now a big move to downsizing. Mm-hmm. Kids coming out don't want the McMansions anymore. They want to have minimized. But I think
and
that's
the baby boomers are getting older.
I think it's a function of their debt, frankly. I think kids can't afford the big homes, so they don't do it. But that is an investment, and people need to be conscious of it. There's also stocks, which you and your family have done, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I think people misunderstand that world in a big way.
To me, the stock market is like Vegas. roll 7, come 11. That's what the I mean, and I know that's not how it's supposed to be.
Well,
but in my own world, there's so much that you need to know, and that's where SAFE is so awesome. Because,
why I created it.
Right, because you bring things into real help for real people, but you bring it to where someone like myself could understand it and take baby steps with not a lot of money.
Carol, I understand why people think it's Vegas, and I don't even mind the analogy. I just want you to be the house.
Yeah, there
I mean,
you
go to Vegas and it advertises on the slots. We have a 98% payout. That means every dollar you put in, they keep 2 cents, give you back 98.
Right.
But people play it. If you want to trade in the securities markets, there's a big difference between investing in companies and trading in companies. And that's a huge distinction. Warren Buffett is an investor. He buys a company with the belief that it will grow capital and income over time. Most people who go out and buy gold or they buy stocks aren't really investing. They're buying to trade. Buy low, sell high. That's a big distinction.
Wow. Okay, I never really thought of it that way. So you're talking about investing is holding on to something and
making your capital and your income grow.
Making your capital and your income grow.
Where when we trade, it doesn't really help our income. It builds our capital. There are people who will tell you to buy a long-term growth fund and just kind of invest like that. I don't deny that that's valid. I think there are a lot of people out there who want to take that.
But a long-term growth fund, that's a put and hold situation.
It's a buy and hold situation.
Okay.
My concern with the buy and hold mindset is that we've entered a new market now, a 21st century market where that's not going to be as profitable. Let's remember the 20th century had the biggest growth in the United States in the history of the world. I don't think the 21st century will be like that. So that buy and hold thing.
Are we more into a trading investment portfolio
I think we
type
are,
of thing
and
now?
I don't think that should scare people. I
See,
think
it does scare me. It does scare me because it moves so quickly.
Well, what we talked, the average holding period is what, 20 minutes?
That's on Wall Street, though. But how about the average Joe?
The average person's getting hurt by that because the average person doesn't trade. They just buy and hold and assume everything will be okay. And that is predicated on corporate earnings rising at a better than inflation rate.
I think we need to do a longer segment of a show on this because there are so many questions I have, and I'm sure listeners, you have them too. And if you do, please email me at carol@stevebeaman.com because we want to offer you this help. I don't know a lot about investing, but gosh, I got to tell you, I've learned a lot from you, Steve, and I want to learn more.
There is a lot to teach and a lot to learn, and it's fun. It doesn't have to be dry and grinding. We can make it fun. But as we come back, we want to wrap up. We've got a challenge for you, I think, that is really going to light you up a bit because it relates to today, but it's important. And we're going to review last week's challenge, of course. So we want to see you in just a couple of seconds. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to this great edition of the Steve Beaman Show. We're here every Sunday at 8 p.m. on AM 560 The Answer. This is Carol Parisi. And Steve, this has been a really interesting show with the letter I, interesting.
I think it is. And I want everybody to know, by the way, we're on AM 560. And we love the people at Salem Communications, but we're also on Red State Talk Radio, which you can see on the web at redstatetalkradio.com in the event that you're not in the Chicago listening area. But you can always listen online as well through stevebeaman.com.
Yes, and it's a video online, and it's posted.
So you can watch us. This is the funny thing. After the live show, we do post the video of us sitting in the studio.
Yeah, we do.
So to all of you, anyway.
Yeah, but it's so funny because you could see me, with my hands. I'm Italian, and I talk with my hands. It's one of those things we do. Yeah. But anyway, hey, Steve, last week we had a challenge.
We did. We talked about habits.
And, okay, add or subtract a habit? Did you add or subtract?
I am really focused in my life on making exercise and working out a habit. I don't like to do it. I don't want to go. But it has to become part of my life forevermore. And so that is... Now, I also have a habit of drinking cherry juice every day. That's the one bio thing I do, because I think it helps. But so I'm really in the mode of making sure that this exercise thing I'm on is a habit perpetually.
That's a good habit. That's a good habit. And you know what? Don't feel bad if you decide to take a break for a few weeks from it, because it's okay. Not yet. I've been working out since...
I just heard permission. I'm going to call my trainer tomorrow.
Let me tell you.
Okay, no.
I started working out as a habit in 1997. And now there are times where I'll take from that particular workout, I'll take a break and I'll just start doing maybe some Pilates or stretching in the morning instead of doing that hardcore pumping.
Well, let's talk about you.
Two things. My ad habit is I'm going to start, and I did not do that this week, but I'm going to do it this week. I want to start before I get out of bed kind of meditating. I always do my gratitude, but I want to start doing my visualization and my prayers, my asking for what I would like to accomplish. That's
what
a
fabulous thing.
That's going to be my new habit starting. And I meant to do it this week, and I have not been able to do it. But I really am going to do that. So hold me accountable, because that would make me a person of more integrity.
Spending time in devotion is critically important, and it does become a habit in your life. Now, this week...
I gave up I gave up sugar. That's my habit of sugar. I stopped
I'm going to hear about that for the next 6 weeks.
I've stopped breaking into my son's room and stealing his Pop-Tarts.
I'm bringing in Pop-Tarts next week. We'll see how devoted you are. Real quick, we got to go. This is the Integrity Week, so we're going to ask you as a challenge this week to think about what things you have in your life that cause you to have high integrity. What do you have to be true to that's so hard, nobody would ever know how hard it is, but you've got to do it?
Okay, how about the other side, too? And maybe something that you're doing, like that's gossiping.
Not of high integrity.
Not of high integrity, and change it, because you know what? You have the power to do that.
Change the habit.
Change the habit. It's
That's
what
right.
it is.
So we
Absolutely.
did have a chance to talk today about a lot of stuff. By the way, we talked about Brexit in the beginning of the hour, and then we talked about the physical path. We came down and talked about integrity and master your money. We talked about investing. So another show filled with all kinds of content. We hope that it hits the hearts and minds of the people listening.
Yep, and take care of that inflammation, folks. Drink cherry juice.
Yeah,
That'll
absolutely.
Help.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does, folks. I'm here to attest to it. And I've handed that stuff out, and we continue to send it out to people, and it really, really, really does help.
So, Steve, how about SAFE?
We want to thank our sponsors of SAFE at safefinancial.org. It's a not-for-profit that's your friend in finance. If you've got questions about your retirement, if you've got questions about your kids' education, write me, Steve at stevebeaman.com, and let's get you involved. We also want to thank Cherry Bundy, who is one of our big supporters, and frankly, they're a sponsor of ours because I love the product. And, of course, John Grebe, who's our accountant friend. I did bring on another sponsor this week, a guy that I know in the HR business or human resource business. We'll get him online next week to talk about it because it's good stuff he's putting out for folks. As always, if you'd like to sponsor the show, send me a note at steve@stevebeaman.com. But more than that, we look forward to our next episode where we're on the J word, and that'll be coming right up next week. So thank you so much, and from our heart to your hearts, thanks for joining us here on the Steve Beaman Show.